Life teaches us everything we need to know. How we respond to this, that's our choice. Listen. Hear that? Hear what? There are voices, instructions, people telling us how we should show up. There are expectations in that. And the struggle that some of us feel in relation to that can be quite profound. There's a child in all of us who questions us when we're in situations that are uncomfortable. Apparently, I've been walking with this child for a long, long time. She's a great one. She's so honest. She has a simple view of life, and she questions things from this space that for me is the best view in all. There's a heart connection between her and me that has served me brilliantly, held me to account, empowered me to have a go, found that strength that when all I thought was so overwhelming just gave me comfort. I know she's with me here right now. She's travelled a long journey and she's smiling because she knows today we're off on a new adventure. There's a time when life was very different for me. To be here where I am today has been anything but predictable. The times when I've looked in the eyes of the adults that I looked up to for answers and comfort and guidance and security, to some point I felt they let me down. Let me take you back to when that little girl was 7, living in a place on the other side of the planet called Holland. This little girl grew up believing that she was pivotal. She was the cause of the merging of two blended families with different personalities and beliefs. She was the firstborn child. The one with all the responsibilities. Then she became the older sister. So what did that look like? And what did that entail? Questions, questions, questions. And I could have had a million answers because everyone had their version of how I should respond to that. But there was something a little bit different about how I felt I interpreted the world. When I was 9, I realised what that was. Heading up to my 9th birthday, after adapting to lots and lots of change, I was invited with my parents to go to evening classes for English conversation. Well, why would I not think that was pretty cool? Because my brothers didn't get to go. I sat in those classes and I thought, these are really important times. People are taking this opportunity really seriously. And I kind of got the whole concept of different languages because I'd grown up learning those. Some of the kids in my neighbourhoods had come from Suriname. My family was from Indonesia. I heard Greece, French, Italian, German. That was the norm for me. But this English thing was pretty cool. Little did I know that there was a lot about that I needed to learn. So I went off to these English classes and I thought, okay, but something didn't quite feel right. And I wanted to find out what that was. So I rocked up there and I thought, there is something here that I need to get, and I don't know quite where to look, Then one day I did. I heard the truth around that. I'd already moved 4 homes in my life at that point. And even though I thought at that young age that that was tough, creating new friends, going to a different school, and getting to know new neighbours and trust them, my parents had booked passage to a place far away, and we weren't coming back. The energy around that was intense. There were times when they would fight and argue, and there'd be this tug of conversation, and it'd be the them versus the us, and the whole thing would just escalate. And it was all I could do was just to find a space in the corner of my room and reconcile what that would mean for me. That didn't come with instructions, by the way. I just had to feel it, interpret it, and make sense of it. Now, as you can imagine, there's some part of us all, and we've alluded to that through some of our other speakers, that little voice inside us here that says, Sally, it's going to be okay. And though you're not hearing it from the outside world and nothing around you that's happening is affirming that that's actually going to be real, there's still that little voice inside that says, Sally, it's going to be okay. The lasting memory that I had in Holland was standing at Schiphol in the queue with my little suitcase and my teddy bear walking up to check in. And a man came up to me and said, that's got to stay here. And I thought, what was that about? He said, well, it's made of straw and it's de-inflammable, so you can't take it on a plane. The lady in the shop who had given it to me sometime before did not tell me that that teddy bear would only be mine until I had to line up, hand over my stuff to someone who didn't know what that would mean to me, board a plane to a country that I didn't even know was real. I thought it was mine for life. I begged and pleaded and cried and looked at those adults to just make him give that teddy bear back to me. To no avail. I found my little corner of my world inside here and had to have a real good, hard conversation. There were little friends of mine that I used to talk to in the corner of my room growing up when times got tough. And my mission then was to hang on to them so tight and take them with me on this journey. They were the biggest kept secret I had ever held, and no one was going to know because no one was going to take them away from me. They were coming with me no matter what. And those little friends from the corner of my room have stood by me for a long, long time in so many situations that I think, you know what? No matter where I am never alone. Landing in Australia, starting year 4, learning English, was really difficult. Being labelled learning disabled in 1971, because what else could they do with me when I didn't speak English, was quite confronting. Speaking fluent Dutch just wasn't good enough. Making new friends, seeing these obviously willing, caring adults in a classroom, in a school environment, wanting to help out but not quite knowing how that would unfold. That was tough too. I felt for them. But something in me held back my story because I didn't want them to know necessarily what else they could take from me, because that had been my experience up until then. I did make new friends. I learnt English. But I also learnt other things. There is a sense of difference that people categorise you by. My brothers and I, we turned up to our school in Gympie with dark skin. Well, there were other kids with different dark skin. When I was growing up in my neighbourhood with Greek children and French children, and that was all kind of normal to me. And none of that was ever punishable. There was a time when I looked at my mum and I thought, what on earth are we doing here? I so need to know from you why we are where we are. I was brought back to that look I saw in her eyes back at Schiphol all those years ago. She was walking like a zombie with that glazed look in her eye, trying to block out the cries of her family that she was leaving behind. And it was all I could do to look her in the eye because I knew deep inside she was silently hysterical. I couldn't draw comfort from that. That was not a bonding moment. There are so many moments like that I've experienced up until that point. What does that all mean? How my mum responded to her experience was her choice. How my father handled the whole situation was his choice. How the man who's now happily hugging my teddy bear conducted himself was his choice. But how I step up every minute of every day, knowing that somewhere there is something inside me that someone will like and love and hug and trust and share with openly and honestly, that's my choice. Being part of a small community has so many blessings. You have real conversations with people. The sitting together last night, sharing that meal with everyone who was going to be presenting today and the organisers was a reminder of that. That sense of community, that no expectations, that unconditional giving, the knowing that it just has to be done and has to be what it is. And all I needed to do was show up was amazing. Life can be like that anywhere we go. But we've got to ask the question, is that what we're open to receiving? Is that what we're open to experiencing? Yep, I grew up and I went to high school and I spoke competent English and life was good. Looking back on that time, I'm reminded that, you know what, life is a journey and how we show up every day is our choice. So there are circumstances that come across our path that we may not know how to handle. I'll always trust that there will be someone that will show up in the right moment and hold your hand and just give you that nudge to say, okay, you know you're ready. You know you have that vision. You know you can have that conversation. You know you can share that message. You know you are exactly where you need to be at any given moment because life only does that. Life teaches us everything we need to know. It's amazing now being in the position to watch my children grow up. They've learnt from me. I was their role model too. We are all role models right here, right now. Someone is looking to trust us. Someone is looking for us to step up and take responsibility so we know where to go. We now have 3 grandsons, and yes, they live over the states, but we have technology and we Skype regularly and we do have plans now that are happy journeys. And that's a great thing. To know what's available to us and what we can draw from is powerful, and don't underestimate that you have access to that no matter where you are and what your background is. We've heard about people coming to the end of their life, and I'm very aware that there's a legacy that's at play here that, again, my next chapter of isn't known to me yet. But that's so okay, because when we're truly present, we're open to hearing the sounds, feeling the feelings, seeing the emotions, seeing the opportunities, noticing that car that will get us exactly to where we need to go next, having that conversation that just makes sense. So the space that I talk to people about isn't necessarily the physical space. You know, the space that you rent or you sell or you mortgage. It's more often that mind space. And if space is that mind, It's an infinite. If we're part of the universe, we have a place in that, we have a purpose in that, we have a contract that we sign to make an impact with that. When we stand up and take responsibility, motivated by that, we can rock the world. That little girl's just doing a little bit of a jig over there now because she's wanted to hear me say this for a very long time. And you know what? That's exciting. And I know in each of you, you have a little boy or a girl or some little signal that you have conversations with that is expecting you to do the same. Circumstances happen. And you know what? Life only shows up what we're needing to learn. And the other thing, we already have what it takes to solve the problem. So when you're faced with tragedy, when you're faced with things that you feel are so overwhelming, when you're looking at someone and you think, what more can I say? What more can I do? Being there with an open heart and a generous mind in the present is the best thing you can give. Wherever we find ourselves, we have a view. We have a choice of what that view entails. Blue skies, storm fronts, rivers full and flowing gently. There's a natural order of things, and we're all part of that. How we show up is exactly carrying the tools that we've already got, creating the space that supports us to be exactly who we are, to share the message we need to share. We already have that. Some of us carry extra baggage for a bit longer than we probably need to, but that's part of the story too. Just know you can let that go whenever you choose. Life teaches us everything we need to know. What is your responsibility is how you respond to it. Thank you.